I first heard the music of l'allegro, il penseroso ed il moderato when I was living in Seattle. For me to hear this music for the first time was a revelation. It was a piece that I listened to over and over and decided, because of the nature of the poetry and the setting of that poetry to music, that it would make a wonderful evening of dancing. So I was approached first by Boston Ballet. A couple years later, Gérard Moitié asked me to move to Brussels and asked what I would like to do, and my first answer, really, I think without hesitation, was l'allegro, il penseroso ed il moderato. If I'm doing a piece that's 5 minutes long or 3 hours long, I always work from music, and I make stuff up. That's how it works. So to do, the fact that this piece was much larger than anything I'd ever done was the whole point. That I had the musical forces and the theaters and the personnel and the time, most important, to make up a piece of this size.
Mark's evening length works, like any evening length work in the dance theater, gives a more unified experience. It's a longer space between the beginning and the end, and he can do more. Above all, he can ring more changes on an idea. The subject of l'allegro is the human community and how it copes with a certain range of emotions. But Mark's work has always been about humane values. It's about how people treat one another, whether in fact we have a place in the world or we don't have, individuals are they alone, or is there such a thing as a community?
Mark says, a solo in my work is like 4 seconds. It's very rare that you get to dance alone. And I think part of that is that he really likes working in groups. It's part of why it's called the Mark Mars Dance Group. That idea of hierarchy, that there are some people who always dance by themselves, and then there's sort of a chorus, is not something he's that interested in. I think he really is interested in what it's like to work with a group of people, a community.
In my earliest work, I really used direct quotations, citations from dances of the world. Folk dancing, we could call it, ethnic dances, national dances. I had a very strong base, a very strong grounding in sort of folk dances, not theater dances, folk dances of the Balkans in general, of Appalachia, of Greece, contra dances, square dances, line dances and circle dances, that all of which I love. Figure dances, very difficult, complicated, or very super simple. It's one thing that allowed me to be comfortable dancing. What happens is, in a lot of these things, you hold hands with people you know or don't know. It's dancing socially. It's not about what it looks like. So consequently, seeing folk dances in a proscenium theater is interesting for about 10 minutes, and then it just becomes watching people dance in a circle, which is something I love to do. So, within certain restraints, I will present something like that.
It has everything in it that I love about Mark Mars's work: the imagination, the mystery, the wit, the beauty, and the magic, the musical acumen, and yet the spontaneity of the performance on top of that. I think in this case it's also beautifully costumed, beautifully set, and beautifully lighted.
L'allegro feels like this beautifully pared down, like the essence of something.
And at the end, lines of people just run towards you. And I have a friend who said, I almost screamed. It was so overwhelming. He felt as though he was going to drown with this joy running towards him, this mirth, and he was never the same.